that wasn't too hard. I think the harder part is what do we do now till the end of January, because we're really more like 6 or more weeks until our next board meeting. So I just thought we needed to get together and maybe have a plan to get us to January. And Joe, if you can hear me, the minutes went out to everybody. Does anybody have any corrections? I'm gonna have to close the blind. I can't even see myself in the picture. Anybody have any corrections from the minutes for the November meeting? And if not, do I have a motion to approve them?
I'm making a motion to approve.
I didn't hear, we got a second? If no discussion, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Who was
Joe,
first?
anything else for secretary?
No. Who was first? Who motioned?
Roxanne.
Roxanne, thank you.
And I'm not sure who seconded.
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, okay.
Raise my hand.
Yeah, I saw that.
Shelley, why don't you give us an update on staff and that positive test and what you've done and where we are with that? Can you update us?
Yes. As far as the one that was positive, I haven't heard back from her today. I asked her how she was feeling and everything, and hopefully she's on the mend, but she was really sick. The other 4 employees that worked with her are doing well. They don't have any symptoms and they're back to work today according to the quarantine that the health department set.
You know, I don't know what the CDC lowered the quarantine time, I think, but now whether that applies to Tennessee and Hamblen County, I'm not sure whether we've adopted that, but at least that's what I've seen, from 14 to 7 or 10 days, depending upon the circumstances. But anyway, everybody's back with no symptoms that we quarantined except the one employee that was positive.
That's correct. Yeah.
And Shelley, what was the end of the employee's quarantine who was positive?
Should have been yesterday.
Well, is she, you know, that you play that by ear, I guess, because
Yeah.
if she's not feeling well, that doesn't need to be one more problem that we've got to deal with, I guess.
Yeah.
Keep her.
Yeah, and she is a substitute, so she may not have to be available right now.
She was part-time. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Nothing else new from any of the other employees beyond the 4 that quarantined? Nobody else with any sort of symptoms or
No,
problems that we know of?
nothing that we know of. Everybody's good right now.
Okay. Shelley, you want to, with one of the emails Shelley sent, we got her recommendations, and I presume everybody looked at it, but in case you didn't, Shelley, you want to go over that and tell us what you think we ought to do to get us to January?
Yeah, with the cases rising so quickly recently, I figured we probably don't need to open right away, but I would like to be able to get the reserves that people have had waiting for them, and also kits for the children for a Christmas program sent out through curbside. So I was thinking maybe the 14th through the 18th, which is next week, having curbside. And then in January, we could stay closed until the next board meeting. Or if the cases are okay, we might just go to curbside again, but not allowing anyone in the building right now.
Yeah, I agree with not allowing anyone in the building. But when you say closed, how many people, if any, are even in the library doing anything?
The staff, and that's probably about 10 of us, 12 of us.
Well, I guess my question would be, Shelley, and to the board here about how maybe we can plan this. I don't have a problem through to January. That I think that's wise. But from early January to the board meeting, you've got what, 3?
Yeah, that's 3 weeks.
Yeah, a full 3 weeks. I think this is probably going to be probably a statement that's going to die a natural death pretty quickly here. But I guess if there's a possibility that things improve, do we need to have authority to go back to curbside or roll it back if it's worse? And I think the fear is, yesterday's numbers were terrible, over 8,000 statewide and 150. And I'm not sure where the 150 came from in Hamblen County, whether that was what they call a testing dump or whether that was a legitimate, just a regular day. If it's a regular day, I think we all know where this is going.
Yeah.
But Shelley, if the plan is curbside until the January board meeting, starting after Christmas, do you think you can do that safely, or what concerns would you have about that?
I think we can. The hotspots is a little bit of a concern, but I think that we can work around that even to where we have to have exact change when they want to pay it in person and stuff like that. They could put it in an envelope and put it in the inside book drop when we're here. Or we could just have them hand it to us through the door in an envelope.
Well, I hate to, I know Christmas is probably a busy time, Shelley.
Yeah.
I hate to shut things down any more than we have to over a busy time. I guess would anybody want to discuss maybe approving Shelley's recommendations? And Shelley, make sure I understand. You were talking about full curbside in January until the board meeting?
I had sent out that we would be closed, but I think that there's been a lot of people calling, especially yesterday, wanting to come in here and get their books, which it's understandable, especially this time of year when they're going to be stuck at home anyway. So I'm thinking curbside next week. And then after Christmas or in January, go back to curbside till the board meeting.
Let me just throw an idea out. And I think Roxanne picked up on this in November, and it was pretty wise because we ended up having to utilize it. But what about the possibility of doing that, but giving you and me the option to roll back if we have another positive test or the numbers just are terrible at Christmas going into January? How does everybody feel about that kind of motion?
Yes.
I think that's a good idea.
I do too, yeah.
So
I agree with that.
if I understand, you'd have curbside next week,
Yeah,
then not be open at all from the 19th through the end of the year. And
yeah,
then,
that's what I was thinking.
and then after January 1st, go back to curbside till we meet.
Yeah. And that would give a break for all these positive cases that are coming up.
And for Christmas and people getting together and things like that.
Yeah.
And then then we could vote for you and David to have the authority to discuss if we need to shut that down.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Elizabeth, Kevin, Kay, anybody?
I think that's a good idea.
I do too.
This is awful. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, this is Kevin. I agree. I mean, I think we're going to see the same type of spike after Christmas that we're seeing now with everybody
Right.
getting together. So I'm sure there's going to be a spike. I don't know when these vaccinations are going to start rolling in, but yeah, you should get discretion to roll back if needed.
Okay.
The concern is that we haven't really even hit full Thanksgiving spike yet. And
Yeah.
once that kicks, and maybe yesterday was the beginning, if that's what those numbers indicated, but my goodness, if we haven't really gotten there yet and you've still got Christmas, we may have to, well, I don't know.
Yeah. I would be worried so much about it if our parking lot hadn't been so full for the last couple of weeks from people going to the health department to get tested.
Yeah, and you know it's going to be worse as we
Yeah.
get into this. So,
What about
It's gonna be a while for the vaccine, Kevin.
What about even next week if there's a problem? I mean, you might even want discretion to roll back the curbside if we need to.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
make the motion that at any point hereafter until the January board meeting, the Shelley's recommendations can be rolled back if circumstances warrant it. How about that?
That sounds good.
Yes.
Joe, you taking good notes?
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
All right. Can somebody officially make that motion? That pretty well laid it out, I think, but can somebody officially make it?
David, I
make it.
officially make that motion.
Okay, motion by Alpha. Do we have a second?
Deborah,
Okay, Joe, that's Deborah.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, any further discussion? Everybody in favor, say aye.
aye.
Anybody opposed? Amy, anything regional?
No, what you're doing is pretty much what everybody else is doing. All of the library, well, not all, but most of the libraries that were previously open are now rolling back to curbside. The ones that were curbside are still staying curbside. That's what we're seeing pretty much across the region and from what I'm hearing across the state as well. So you're doing pretty much what everybody else is.
Well, we wouldn't want to be the fly in the punch bowl, I guess. We try to be consistent.
Have any of the other libraries in the region closed, Amy?
No.
Okay.
Joe, I didn't hear that question. Say that again.
I asked her if any of the other libraries in the region had closed, like we had, or may.
Completely closed, you mean?
Right.
Well, really, we didn't completely close. We had employees working. So, I guess it depends on your definition of closed.
Closed for service.
Yes, yes.
And that's how I took it too. You all are the only ones right now that I'm aware of that are closed for service completely.
But what we don't know is if any of the other libraries have had a positive test. That was the reason there, that it wasn't.
No, I know of a couple. So there have been a couple.
Well, I think the concern Shelley and I had was, and we tried to address it, Shelley, the way Sherry told us to, but we were worried that was going to be a spread among the staff, and we had people coming in and, all of a sudden day one, you've got a couple symptomatic, and then day two, a couple more, and then you've got a real mess. So maybe we overreacted, but.
Oh, I don't think we
so.
overreacted. I just think it's community spread, and you're passing these people all day long now. So whether they test or not, lose their sense of smell or have symptoms or are asymptomatic, but I think it's just always good to be safe.
Yeah,
Abundance of
situation by situation too. I don't know the specific situations in the other libraries, but they maybe bigger buildings where they're a little bit more separated, or they may be somebody who stayed home with the sign of the first sniffle. So you don't know what their situation is or how they're handling it. So, everybody has to do what makes sense for their buildings, for their communities. And no, I don't think this is an overreaction at all.
And I think as long as the staff is there and you're answering the phones, you're really helping probably a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It has helped a lot.
Well, and the timing of the positive test, Shelley, I'm trying to think back. Was that right before Thanksgiving, or was that
Yeah.
Thanksgiving week?
It was the Tuesday before Thanksgiving when her
Yeah.
symptoms started.
And that was, well, who knows, but that sure didn't seem like a good time to stay open and
Yeah.
see what happened, I guess you could say. But
Well, I absolutely agree. I mean, we have to do what we feel is safe for us.
Yeah.
Amy, anything else regional?
No, I think that's all, unless you have any questions for me.
Anybody have any questions? Well, I hope maybe we can get to January without another meeting, but don't be surprised. And I think that motion probably ought to get us to January, but I think this is such new territory that I wouldn't promise anything. Let's see who we've got coming in right as we're fixing to quit.
It's Treva.
Is that Treva?
Treva,
Okay.
yeah.
She's got her,
Yeah.
she's muted. Treva is good with numbers. Technology, I don't know.
There she goes.
Okay, here I am. I'm sorry. I just now saw Joe's text and I forgot. I'm decorating.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, I sent her a text in the beginning just in case.
Yeah.
We had
Well,
forgotten.
Thank you.
I have another meeting, so I'm leaving you.
Okay.
Bye, Deborah.
See, Deborah. Treva, let me just update you real quick, and then I think we're about done.
Okay.
You should have gotten Shelley's director's report by email. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to stay closed. Shelley, correct me if I miss any of this. Stay closed through the end of this week. Next week, curbside for some specific things, children's Christmas kits and other material reserved that needs to get out before Christmas. From there forward until January board meeting, we're going to do curbside, subject to the provision that Shelley and I can roll back, as we did when we had the positive test a couple of weeks ago, that we can roll back if we need to before the January board meeting. So any thoughts on that plan, Treva?
That sounds okay to me. I think it's scary. Everything's getting worse and worse, it seems. So we may have to I keep losing you. We may have to, Shelley may have to readjust, but yes, that's fine with me.
Okay, so we're unanimous with that earlier motion. I'm going to let everybody go to lunch because that's what we need to do unless anybody's got anything else to bring up. Anybody got anything else? Well, I appreciate you.
Just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody have a good Christmas, and maybe I'll see you in late January. If not, I'll see you before.
Be safe.
Thanks, John.
Merry
Okay.
Christmas.
Bye.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Christmas to you all. Merry Bye-bye. Christmas.